The Cubs finally have a sweep. Not that I'm ever calling for a sweep most of the time, however, against like the Rockies maybe, but they sweep the Mets. I'm David Butler, and this is Clark and Addison, born into the Abbey. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave us some 5-star reviews, and leave us a comment or two on the way, whether it be on YouTube and or any audio platform. The Mets series was phenomenal, results-wise. Not so phenomenal because we lost two starting pitchers. One of them didn't pitch in the series. Last pitched on Friday. But we'll get to that in a minute. The offense scored 33 freaking runs in the 4 games. Been huge for a while now. Again, if the Cubs' offense will need to be huge for the rest of this season, or at least a good long while, because they have 5 starting pitchers on the injured list. One of a sixth one just came back and started yesterday. Had a really good start. Matt Boyd did really, really well yesterday. Looked well. Looked good. Hopefully we can start to stretch that out. He just barely made it, or almost made it to that 5th inning. Went 4 2/3. Walked 4 batters. Didn't necessarily like to see that. Soto was 2 of those 4. But overall, I thought it was an encouraging start for his first start back since the very beginning of May. I think it was May 3rd specifically. Ben Brown and Edward Cabrera both went on the injured list during this series. Cabrera had what they're calling a hamstring injury. There's no way. I mean, watching the guy on the ground, it looked like he was holding his groin area. Not his groin area, but the groin injury, that ligament or whatever. And Ben Brown is now out with a neck strain that apparently was bothering him for a little bit. And when he threw a bullpen session on Tuesday, was having quite a bit of an issue with that neck strain, something that he battled in 2024, and then ended up being out for the season. But that was other issues that had helped create that. So, I think that it's makes sense to expect him to be out for a little bit. As much as that really, really sucks. It is what it is with it. Offense, Dansby Swanson broke out in a huge way. Last week, I called for Matt Shaw and or Pedro Ramirez to get a lot more playing time in favor of Nico and Dansby and anybody else, really. But specifically, Dansby and then some with Nico. Apparently, I should have called for Bregman instead because Bregman's been terrible. And ever since I called out for Dansby to not play as much last week, he has literally been the best hitter in baseball. He has a 1.481 OPS in that time span over the past week. Pete Crow Armstrong is 8th best in the whole league with a 1.257 OPS. And Nico Hoerner is hitting much, much better as well with a 918 OPS. Alex Bregman, however, is the 30th worst hitter in that time span out of 198 qualifying batters with a 492 OPS. Pedro Ramirez and Matt Shaw have been getting more at-bats lately, as they should, and I don't really care how they get them or who they get them in place of during that. Like, just be super utility guys, man. As long as they are getting them, especially Pedro. Pedro has been doing real well this week. Matt Shaw kind of came back down to earth a little bit, but still has had good key moments. So all those are good things. We want those guys to keep getting at bats, especially. I mean, Ramirez. What's the point of either of them being on the roster if they're not going to play more? I'm not saying they have to play every day, but they need to play more than sparingly and getting like. Why is Michael Conforto hitting the ball or getting more at bats than at times? He shouldn't be getting more starts than Matt Shaw and or Pedro Ramirez. He just shouldn't. He's not had this success lately. He's not like and it makes more sense. He's got more experience in baseball and coming off the bench in those moments. So, Justin Steele Jed Hoyer talked about him. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Basically said that he really doesn't see a scenario where Justin Steele comes back and is able to start this year. Didn't rule out him coming in and helping in short bursts, which so in relief, or maybe being a starter, like an opener type guy. But it definitely doesn't see him being a 5, 6, 7 inning starter for the rest of this year, which it appears to me from everything I've seen on social media and read other things was a surprise to Justin. So you would think that maybe we would talk to the player about stuff like that. Like again, like I just don't understand the disconnect at times that Jed seems to have with communication. So, could he help the bullpen? Absolutely. Could he help the rotation? Absolutely. So wherever he is, the hope is that he comes back and shows that he's healthy and is able to help contribute because this team needs a ton of pitching right now. There are so many pitching injuries. So many. We all know this. I'm going to go over the same thing that so many other people have. But there's so many. There's so many that they don't have a fifth starter, so they had to trade for one on Wednesday night / early Thursday morning. David Peterson. If you look at his numbers, let me bring them up. They don't exactly scream, hey, that's awesome. He comes into this with a 6.09 ERA for the season in 16 games, 8 games started. He has 68 innings. But his expected ERA is 4.84, which means that he's had a lot of bad luck. His FIP, fielding independent pitching, which takes out that basically shows everything that Peterson can control. And that's at 3.85, so that's definitely doable. And when you consider the fact that he is behind one of the worst defenses, or was in front of one of the worst defenses that were behind him, there we go, with the New York Mets, and as bad as their overall defense is, their infield defense is even worse. They're like bottom 5 in the league in almost every category. And he's now going to be pitching in front of a team that is literally number 1 in every defensive category. Number 1, infield and team. So, when you have a ground ball rate of 52.9%, which David Peterson does, it's 51.1%. I apologize. That can make a gigantic difference. He does give up a lot of hard contact. His barrel rate is not terrible, but the hard contact just in general is going to go like make impacts. So, hopefully they can cut that down. From everything I've read about him, his pitches, fastball and sinker, fall in line a lot with like guys like Drew Pomeranz and Justin Steele. They don't cut as much, but the way that they do move is similar to those guys. And the Cubs have had a lot of success with guys like Justin Steele and or Drew Pomeranz. Speaking of Drew Pomeranz, he is also back in the organization and hopefully will be back with the major league team soon. Drew did pitch for Anaheim this year. In 25 games, he had, or not Anaheim, Los Angeles Angels, I'm sorry. He had 23 and a third innings. He was not nearly as successful as he was last year. He had an ERA of 5.01. His FIP is 6.32. So I think that he's kind of coming in as a flyer, as a guy that we have familiarity with, and a guy that we've had success with. I think there's hope that we can have, that he can turn that around and be a successful contributor to the bullpen. Lord knows we need that right now as well in the bullpen. The pitching is in shambles, folks. So we need to throw darts at anything and everything that we can to try and figure this out. I think that there is some reason for optimism with David Peterson specifically because of the things that I just said. But take that with, just have cautious optimism. That's one of my biggest thing. I do not like what we gave up for him. That is the tax you pay, though, to get somebody at the end of June and not the end of July. Cole Mathis is a solid player, I think. He's going to be a very solid player. I don't think that I do think he's probably a little over rated in the Cubs system. He was 13th or 12th, depending on where you were looking. I think he's probably in the latter teens. And I'm not the evaluator that some of these other guys are, though. So, I have watched and followed the minor league system far more than I ever have over the past 2 seasons now. This season specifically, I've gotten into it even more. So, although I would like to think that I have educated guesses with this, I'm still not the evaluator that some of these other guys are, most likely, right? So, but that's my 2 cents with that and my thoughts. The Milwaukee Brewers preview. Terrible, terrible, terrible time to play the Milwaukee Brewers, in Milwaukee especially, but it is what it is. The Brewers coming into this series at 49-29. Just like the Cubs, they have won their last 4 games and are 7-3 in their last 10. Unlike the Cubs, though, they are tied for second in runs per game with a 5.22. The Cubs are 6th with a 4.94. ERA is 3.38 for the Brewers. Their overall team ERA is 3.38 in second place. The Cubs are 4.30 in 18th. Starting pitching is 3.23 for the Brewers, first overall in the major leagues, and it's not even close. The Cubs have an ERA of 4.64 for their starters in 25th. That's gotten better, though, over the last couple weeks, folks. And the relief pitching for the Brewers is an ERA of 3.56, and they're only in 8th place. The Cubs at 3.82 in 12th. Probable starters for this week are Colin Ray, 5-5, 4.99 ERA tonight, against Jacob Misiorowski, who is 8-3 with a 1.45 ERA. On Saturday and Sunday, the Cubs do not have announced starters yet. I'm going to guess Peterson's going to be one of those guys. Everybody else started on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday for the Cubs. So, I don't know. And on Tuesday, Edward Cabrera started. He ain't starting this weekend. He's on the IL, right? I think at best Javier Assad might be able to start on Sunday, but I'm gonna guess we're gonna have some kind of bullpen game and or Vince Velasquez or who knows. Somebody from the minors might come up and make one of those starts, and hopefully Peterson can make the other start. And then we should be back in line for Monday, where the rotation is back in some kind of normal rotation. Friday we got, or I already said that, yeah. On Saturday we will face Kyle Harrison. They've got murderer's row starters here to face us because, why not? Left-handed pitcher Kyle Harrison, who is 8-1 with a 2.50 ERA. And on Sunday, they will have right-handed pitcher Brandon Woodruff, who I think is making his comeback from the IL at 2-1 with a 3.00 ERA. They are led offensively by Jackson Chourio with an 870 OPS, Andrew Vaughn with a 970 OPS, Jake Bowers with an 855 OPS, and William Contreras with a 792 OPS. And that doesn't count all the other guys that just kill us, like Sal Frelick and whatnot. Their bullpen is led by D.L. Hall, left-handed pitcher with a 2.03 ERA, Aaron Ashby, right-handed pitcher with a 3.09, Abner Uribe, who I would just love to get a bunch of hits off of, at 3.38, and Trevor McGill, whose ERA is not scary at 3.72, but has been absolutely dominant after having a very rough start to the season as their closer. It's going to be a tall task. If we can get one out of these 3, I'm going to be ecstatic, to be honest. We're going against one of the best teams in baseball, in a bad spot for us because of our starting rotation. If we can steal 1 of 2, that's going to be a win. To be truthful, if they get 2 out of 3, it's going to be a major win, and it would be absolutely, absolutely huge.
Go, Cubs, go!
Thank you for watching and or listening to Clark and Addison Born Into the Ivy. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and leave us some comments along the way, be it on YouTube and or any audio platform. Have a great day, and let's go Cubs.
Go, Cubs, go!